Hello and welcome to all our gold viewers from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC here at Gold and Gold Midwifery. And you see me smiling big today because I have a special guest with me here today. And this is Toni Harman. Welcome, Toni.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It is so wonderful to have you here. I can't wait to chat with you because you have done such amazing work in the world of midwifery here for all of our birth junkies, let's call them, right? And I'll chat about that in just a minute here. You are one of our keynote speakers for the Gold Midwifery Online Conference of 2023 that starts just around the corner. So first of all, Toni, where in the world are you located?
I am in Brighton on the south coast of England.
Ah, wonderful. Very, very beautiful there as well. So, Toni, you are a filmmaker and you became famous with the beautiful film. Let's tell us about it. What film have you on the microbiome have you produced? And that was so groundbreaking for the world of midwifery.
I don't think I'm famous. I think I just we made a film called Microbirth, and which looked at the origins of the infant microbiome. So this is the science that strongly supports vaginal birth, immediate skin to skin, and exclusive breastfeeding. So we made the film in 2014, and what we did was we set up 1,000 screenings all around the world. So midwives, childbirth educators, and the global community of birth junkies, as you call them, but birth professionals held their own screenings in their local community. And what that did, and we beforehand we sent each of those people a publicity pack to contact their local media. So on one day we had 1,000 screenings all over the world in 50 countries and 17 languages, and we made worldwide headlines that day. It was fantastic, and that's and what it did is kind of created awareness about the microbiome in birth, and particularly why it's so supportive of everything that midwives do. So I'm not famous, but I guess I'm the conduit of this science.
And this is absolutely fascinating. I can't even tell you, when your movie came out and when I saw that film, it was like groundbreaking and it was like eye-opening, right? I mean, we've never talked about the microbiome before as such, right? And it was absolutely fascinating, the things we learned. And it must have been for you, looking back now and the work that has come out of what you started. It must have been quite fascinating to see what that movie set loose, right? I mean, all of a sudden, we started to talk about the microbiome. We saw how important it is, and more research was also being done. Tell me a little bit of what you've seen since your movie came out and now, a little bit of a development that you noticed.
I think it's just this awareness that I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm a filmmaker, but it's just this awareness that what happens during pregnancy, birth, and early infancy, this potentially has lifelong effects for a baby. So there's more and more research. I mean, lots more research about the kind of the early infancy as being this part of this developmental programming. What happens during this sensitive time, this kind of lays the foundations for long-term health. So there's been kind of a shift in technology. So there's next generation sequencing. So scientists now know much more about the bacteria that is transferred from mother to baby at birth. So there's more discoveries in the microbiome world through this kind of new technology. And that's what's and so more papers are being published every day. There is more awareness within parents, within midwives, some awareness within the obstetric system. So I think there's awareness within the midwifery world and within the birth world, so to speak. But I don't think that awareness has happened so much or to that extent within the obstetric world or the neonatal world. I think people have heard of the microbiome, but they don't necessarily associate or understand why it's so important during the birth and early infancy period.
But I believe, because of your movie and people like you and the wonderful midwives and birth workers you interviewed and are part of this, community, there is a bigger awareness. And what happens is because also of social media and the internet and, more access to certain information, families request that information. They come to their, let's say, care providers and tell them, look, I watched this. I want to know more about what happens if I do have a C-section. What does that mean for my baby and the microbiome, right? So I feel like it's also a little bit of a kind of consumer driven. I feel like families are better educated now about what's going on, also about the microbiome, and kind of, tell their care providers, look, you need to, be educated on this. I have this question. You need to be able to answer this. And do you see that in your community or as well, that people are more and more now requesting their care providers to be on board or be educated?
We we had a campaign. Well, we've been running this campaign for the last couple of years. The idea that we we give questions to parents for them to ask their healthcare provider. So, well, I've got a belief that change happens at the top, but change happens at the bottom. So my idea is that you empower, you seed parents with this knowledge, and they get the knowledge. If they understand about the microbiome, they understand the things they can do during pregnancy, birth, and during early infancy that can affect their baby's health. And if they can understand the science, they can take actions. So then change also happens at the top level. So it's by we've been engaging with policy makers, with hospital managers, with governments. We've been having lots of conversations with people about bringing this science to healthcare systems. And I think these two kind of fronts, from the top and from the bottom, are starting to meet. And that's kind of the conditions where change happens, where we can bring the microbiome to to empower all parents to have informed choice, but also to bring changes to healthcare systems to make it more respectful, to provide more respectful maternity care.
Mm-hmm. And I do believe there is also a want of new healthcare providers coming into the field to learn more and to be educated. And you provide great education to families, to care providers. So talk a little bit about that. You have programs, you have books. So for our viewers to know how to find you and how they can learn more about the topic as well.
We have, so after making Microbirth, we wrote a book which is called, there's a UK version which is the Microbiome Effect, and then there's a worldwide version which is called Your Baby's Microbiome. So if people want to read a book, then, so some people like watching films, so if they want to watch a film, they can watch Microbirth. They like books, they can read our books. But we've also created an online school, so with I think there's something like 38,000 health professionals are within our school, within our family, and we provide a free course, so a free mini course featuring 6 professors, which is brilliant, which gives an introduction to the science of the microbiome. But we do longer length courses, which engage people and help them understand and take them through some of the issues and things they can do during kind of pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding. But that's just the start. Honestly, I just see this as everybody kind of grasping the microbiome and realizing why this is so important for long-term health. And we've got a whole idea for a microbirth universe. So it's exciting, and what is most important things, there are things you can do. It's not like the science is not just based in silos. So very much academics, they publish research and then they think their job is done, and our job is to bring that science out of the silos and to spread awareness about it and why it's so important. That's why I'm so excited about the GOLD Midwifery Conference, because it's an opportunity to bring this science to midwives, to make them understand why this is so important, what they can do with this science, So it's exciting, but it's going to take all of us, all of
All
us
of
holding
us.
hands to make change happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes all of us. And yes, your presentation here at Gold, as I mentioned, is the keynote presentation. You will be live on the 27th of February, twice. It is open access. So we want to make sure that as many people as possible can watch this presentation, learn from you. Your presentation is titled Turn the Microscope on Birth, the Microbiome and Midwifery. And it's 75 minutes packed full of information, right, Toni?
Uh, yes, exactly that. It's just it's what midwives need to be aware about, and how this information can transform health.
Yes.
And what's really the title of my talk comes from a quote from Hannah Darlin. So he's a professor of midwifery in Australia, and within microbiome, she says, "Turn the microscope on birth. It's more important than we could ever have imagined." And it is. I think that's what all midwives and the birth community need to do, is to turn that microscope on birth and to be aware of what happens, those microscopic changes that happen, which are invisible to the human eye, but they're so important for long-term health.
Mm-hmm. And there is still so much work to be done, so much more research to be done, and so much more education. Toni, the other day I heard, and I found that absolutely fascinating, about some research that is being or has been done on the pandemic, the impact of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, on the human microbiome. And it wasn't quite, the research doesn't tell us, is it because of the pandemic, of the isolation, or because of the virus? But I'm sure you heard about this too. And I can only imagine what that means for birth. So your work is not done, Toni. You still have a lot of work there ahead of you, finding out more and bringing information out to the people, right?
I think the pandemic was a really sort of special moment, because everybody was shut indoors. Everybody was shut indoors in your home microbiome, the microbiome, your environment around you. But we didn't have those connections, those important face-to-face connections. We weren't exposed to the viruses or the bacteria that we would have done normally. So I think it has potentially, and plus we're all of us were obsessed with what's it called, the hand sanitizer,
Right.
hand sanitizer, and we were scared of one particular virus, and this virus is part of our human microbiome. So it's the virus, well, not that particular one, but the viruses are part of our human microbiome, that's the whole thing. We interact with the microbiome daily. So yes, okay. So the pandemic changed us, and it's kind of relearning what you can do, and not to be scared of bacteria, not to necessarily use. I mean, my partner Alex, he bought a pair of underpants, and they're antimicrobial underpants, and it's kind of, so these the underpants are killing bacteria. This is crazy. You want
You
your
want,
skin microbiome to
right,
thrive. So I think it's just readdressing,
right.
rebalancing our way of thinking.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, Toni, that you came here and chatted with me here. Let's turn the microscope on birth together there with Toni at the Microbiome and Midwifery in February as the keynote. Thank you so much, Toni, for being here with me today and chatting about the microbiome and birth.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of February.
And for our viewers who would like to find out more about this keynote presentation, as I mentioned, it is open access. You can sign up right now and reserve your free seat. Toni will be speaking live twice on that live day. But if you can't make it to that live day, don't worry. All of our content is always recorded. So reserve your seat now, so you can get the recording and watch the presentation at a leisure time that works for you. And if you would like to find out more about this wonderful presentation and all the other presentations in the Gold Midwifery Online Conference of 2023, we invite you to go to goldmidwifery.com to find out more. Thank you again, Toni, for being here with me today, and thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you at the conference. Bye bye, everyone.